Hello, I'm Rob Price. This season, we're exploring agentic AI from the perspectives of those driving its evolution. Welcome to Futurise.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Foxwell. I'm the creator of AI for the rest of us. My career has actually mostly been in platform engineering and the DevOps space. I'm at the moment focusing on the intersection of DevOps, software development, security, and AI.
Fabulous. And what we're going to talk to about today is very much around what AI means to the rest of us, and actually some around what agentic AI means to the rest of us, which is even more emergent in the market. Shan, could you talk a bit about your interest and your background?
Sure. Thanks for having me, first and foremost. My name is Shen, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Launch Lemonade. My personal mission is to make sure that no one gets left behind in the time of AI. So my background is product development and digital transformation. I have integrated multiple models before, AI, machine learning, and data-driven projects. And I worked for heavily funded businesses that had the money to deliver the sophisticated technology for its users. When the language models came out, I thought everyone should benefit from this. And this is why we've built Launch Lemonade.
That's fantastic. And look, this is exciting because this is the first episode of the second season of Futurise, and it's no surprise for me, at least, to bring together a brilliant focus around a conference, AI for the rest of us. Thank you, Hannah, for doing that. Shan, a focus on the rest of us. And of course, my background talking about digital responsibility, which has always been about fairness and accessibility and inclusion for everybody. So I love the synergy, if you like, between what we're doing. For both of you, though, when you talk to organisations, all these people attending the conference next week, how do we make it accessible for the rest of us? So the level of understanding, or I mean, we get into big debates around fear of AI versus how can someone put their first steps into adopting AI in their business to kind of give real benefit. Hannah, what are you finding in the conversations you have?
So I find that there's a lot of people talking about AI, and the sort of the hype and the marketing machine adds so much noise to it that it's quite difficult to kind of get through that and find the real information that you need in your job. Whether you be a software developer, whether you're an entrepreneur in marketing or in your the creative domain. And I think what I'm trying to do, and I think what people really need is that next level of detail. Like if we need to give people credit, but like saying AI and just dismissing it as this magical black box. It's not. It's a computer program. It's understandable. You can explain it. And what I think we need, and I think what a lot of businesses need, and what is holding us back is that fluency, that ability to have a good conversation about AI at the next level, where it's not just the magical black box.
Is there something around speed and pace though? Because I think in a sense I see a bit of a danger that people can be left behind, actually, especially in large organisations that perhaps move a little slower. And Shannon, I think kind of a lot of the work you've been doing has been with organisations that have just got a bit more agility to do things faster.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely urgency in the ability to experiment and start understanding how the technology works, but there doesn't have to be an eloquence or being able to be articulate with the understanding or the level or the depth of understanding of how the technology works because it's just evolving. So as much as there is urgency to, for example, start building or start seeing how it works, my view is we're all experimenting and we're all taking part in how this technology is evolving. So there's no need to be feeling overwhelmed or be feeling like you're being left behind unless you're not starting to experiment and taking part in the conversation. That's where we come in, is that we provide the platform. We're kind of like we're simplifying sophisticated tech, making all the language models accessible, and then learning together to see how we can take advantage of the technology.
I'm just going to agree with Shen there. I think if you're feeling like FOMO and you're feeling like you're getting left behind, all I would do is try and give you some reassurance that you're not. You're absolutely not left behind, because things are moving so quickly, and it's more important to have a go. It's more important to sort of say, actually, I do want to engage now, and start learning and start experimenting and start figuring it out, maybe without too much pressure to start with. I think that's a really, really important message, is that you're not actually left behind. All of this is so new and we're all figuring it out. There's no one with all the answers at the moment.
Do you feel that people have always got the room to experiment? I mean, is there maybe something around, maybe in a startup or a smaller organization, it's easier to find, well, I don't know that it is easier to find time, but maybe more ability to find time than when you're in a larger organization doing a job day in, day out. I mean, they're making time to come to the conference to learn. So, Shane, you were going to say?
I think there are two questions. One is, can people experiment? And two is, do people experiment? The answer to the first question is yes. The answer to the second question is not all. So since the Industrial Revolution, and I've said this a couple of times, is humans have been measured by how intelligent we are and how much we produce. Now with AI and its promise to be able to produce more from a robotics perspective, for example, and be more intelligent. Let's say they say that it's going to be thousands and millions times more intelligent than us, probably even in the next year. Now we're left to ask ourselves, like, what is going to make us good as humans, right? And I think that the answer is, our curiosity, our creativity, and our ability to connect. And because it's a shift, we have to experiment. So now there's a kind of like an answer to the question. It is that we have to do it. So can people experiment? Yes. Should people experiment? Yes. But do people experiment? Not all.
I heard, so I was talking to somebody a couple of years ago, and they said you'd almost be negligent if you weren't experimenting, which is quite a forceful statement, but echoes kind of what you're saying there. In the work that you've done as Launch Lemonade with some of your clients, what have they experimented on? So are there some examples that you can illustrate where they've found ways of working that maybe they'd not originally envisaged when they started that experimentation?
Oh, we've seen some really interesting experiments over the past month. We have creators asking their own creation to improve itself. So if they would ask the creation, like, if, based on the conversations we have, how would you think I should rebuild? Or how do you think we should change your instructions, or how we designed you? And it's given its creator suggestions on how to improve it. We also switched long memory function on the platform. And so we've got creators who are basically asking the Copilot, remember when we had this conversation? And they would basically offload their thoughts at the end of the day, and then ask sometime later why they've processed certain things or why certain decisions have been made. So yeah, there are a lot of really interesting experiments happening that are being shared with us. But we've had, like, the other day there were about 10,000 conversations that happened in the platform. Well, we've lost track of the amount of experiments happening, but there are.
Which in a sense is a brilliant way back to the conference, because that's about sharing experiences and stories, isn't it? It's about trying to help kind of see a new art of the possible. There isn't a rule book that says do this, do that. It's about exploration. So what would be your goals for the conference as people come and then leave? How do you want them feeling on the Friday night?
Oh my gosh, I know exactly how I want people to leave. I'm sort of measuring success in terms of light bulb moments where, like, something slots into place in your mind. You're like, oh, that feeling like, oh, I get it now. I get it now. I know what I'm going to do differently. And I think one of the most exciting things about the event is the enormous diversity of perspectives in the room. And so we have an amazing diversity of speakers, but also in attendees. We've got everything from like CEOs, public, private sector, entrepreneurs, students, developers, like heads of AI. It's like bringing these people together to have these conversations. I'm really just excited about like the light bulb moments that actually happen in the hallway track, as well, as people go like, well, how about what do you think of this in my scenario, or what advice do you have for me? And you end up in these more organic conversations where people from lots of different backgrounds and domains are supporting and helping each other on this journey. And I think that's what I'm really excited about. That's what I hope. Ask me this time next week whether I've achieved it. This is the environment of learning that I hope to create.
We almost need Copilot for conferences, so it can kind of give us a summary at the end of the event of all those great
we'll build
conversations
it.
that take place. I think one of the things that I'm interested in with this season of Futurise is exploring maybe kind of the real bleeding edge of some of the things that's happening at the moment, and especially around what's termed agentic AI. Indeed, in our last conversation together, we talked about what was that and what did it mean, and we'll touch on that in the conference as well. Maybe actually we should kind of say, if anyone wants to come and talk to me at the conference about what they believe it to be, we'll record that for a future episode of the podcast as well. Now, Shan, I know some of the things that you're doing touch on what we might term as agentic AI. So for you, what do you think that might bring additionally for people experimenting? Because it has the potential to push the capability of what an organization could achieve much further. I might slightly biasedly say.
Yeah. There's a lot of speculation about how these things evolve. We're taking a stake on how, we could initially democratize access to designing what an agent is, or what it could mean for various organizations and entrepreneurs. We're actually rolling out a change, an optimized version of our agent builder soon. Very exciting stuff. But I think that for me, the most exciting shift that I could foresee is how we live and how we work. No longer will we be bound to repetitive tasks that are so boring. We could do more, critical thinking and do more real innovation that could change the world. That's the most exciting part, I think, is solving real problems, and freeing us up from the boring stuff.
And Hannah,
Yeah.
you must have had lots of conversations in preparing this conference and talked to, well, I imagine all of the speakers. So what would you pick out, apart from obviously Shannon's session and my session, barring us, what would you pick out as maybe some of the people to listen to, really kind of with fascinating stories that you'd hope that everyone who was, I mean, the answer is everybody, clearly. You can't say anything.
You can't put me on the spot and like choose favorites with my amazing speakers, but I think I'll give you two different perspectives on it, because I think if you're from a non-technical background and you're there to be inspired about what AI can do today, then you're probably not going to be hanging out in the developer experience track talking about like how you ship LLMs to production. That's not what you're doing. So if I was at the conference from a non-technical background, the things that I would be really excited about hearing about would be things like how AI is being used in wildlife conservation. I'd be really interested in listening to the founders of the Creative AI Network talk about the impact that generative AI is having on creative industries. I'd be really interested in the productivity track, where we're looking at things like, how do I, as a human, as an individual, actually like kind of supercharge myself with these AI tools? And we've got an awesome speaker called Peter Gusto from Moonpig, who's going to be doing a load of demos of all of his favorite new tools that he's been experimenting with. So that's one dimension. And then I think the other dimension of the conference is for the folks who are involved in technology in some way or another. And I think, for people like me who are in the business of building software, I think, dropping in on the AI fundamentals track and learning about, like why we shouldn't be LLM washing, why we like actually sometimes like there are other machine learning models that are right for the job. That's Lisa Becker giving that talk. And then obviously in the developer experience track, we learn about actually the reality of pushing these applications to production. We're learning about the cybersecurity implications. So there really is something for everyone, whether you're in security, whether you're in development, whether you are in marketing, whether you are in design. And yeah, the way I've tried to organize the agenda is that there will be something for everyone in every time slot. So there's three tracks, and they're balanced between the more technical and the more practical and kind of human centered.
I love the kind of point around different perspectives, and it's so critical. We need a view in terms of from the business or the organization. I mean, you touched on organizations there that are, well, people's day-to-day lives. They impact people's day-to-day lives. So what are the use cases? How can they best be applied? How can we apply the technology in a way that makes a difference, makes an impact? So I love that, and indeed, it's part of what I'm trying to do with this next season of Futurise is to look at it through different perspectives. So today we're looking at it from the perspective of, in part, the entrepreneur, and in part, bringing people together to learn. In other conversations, we'll look at it maybe from the investment. The funders of organizations, and indeed more founders of organizations who are making an impact. But I love the fact that you're bringing us all together next week to kind of try and explore some of these things in more detail. And who knows, maybe there's somebody attending the conference next week who might be a guest in the rest of season 2 as we go through and explore some of these things over the next few weeks. So Hannah, Shen, thank you for kind of joining this conversation, and looking forward to the event next week.
Looking forward to meeting you in person. I'll see you there.